Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. A few weeks ago, we traveled to GunCon 2025 on the east side of Cleveland and participated in their range day. One of the products that we were really excited about trying out was a new optic from Gideon Optics. They're headquartered in Pennsylvania, and their optics, like a lot, are made in China, but the one I'm really excited about is this Judge XL. The reason is because even though it's designed for micro guns or what would typically take a micro optic, as you're going to be able to see, we're going to cut to the shop and I'll actually put it on my Canik Prime, talk about the product a little more, and then we'll come back to the range and do a little shooting demonstration. Very excited about the size of the window. It's something you don't really get with most micro optics, and the price point at $210 retail is a very, very, very good attribute for people who maybe not really sure they want to get into red dots or green dots, as this case may be, but want to give it a try without sort of leveraging the farm. The other interesting thing about Gideon is the green dot is not more expensive than the red dot, and they have a full product line that we'll also post on the channel. So, over to the shop and then back to the range.
So, as we discussed, one of the cool things that comes out of GunCon is, of course, vendors arrive and you can test out some of their product. And Sean was lucky enough to wrangle a optic from a company called Gideon Optics. Gideon's been around for a couple years, perhaps 2023, I believe they got big in the US. Their optics, of course, like a lot, are made in China. They're actually headquartered in Pennsylvania, and we'll put on the channel, they have a wide array of optics of various colors, sizes, and those sorts of things. Low-powered optics for your AR. And one of the things that's really cool about this particular product is this one is called the Judge XL. Of course, everybody knows I'm a big red dot guy, and if you can see here, this is my Prime, and I have the Hollow Sun Micro on there. And it runs pretty well, but one of the struggles you have, especially when you're instructing people on carry guns with micro optics, is they struggle trying to find the dot oftentimes, especially if they don't do a lot of dry fire practice. So, I'm sure people out there are going to say, well, the problem is they don't do enough dry fire practice, or they would be able to find the dot. That's a school of thought for sure. But in my humble opinion, I don't think you can go wrong with a big window ever. I think that real world, you can never predict perfect. You probably will not get perfect. Lord forbid if you need the gun in an emergency situation. And I'm a huge, huge fan of big windows as long as it doesn't sort of print and you're able to see it or interfere with the functionality of your carry system, which I don't think this one will. You can see, comes in a nice little carry bag, and of course we'll do the unboxing. And I left this on here for just a bit to sort of do a side-by-side size comparison. So I'm get this guy out of the box. Of course, like a lot of other optics, it comes with your instruction sheet, zeroing, and all of that. So that's kind of handy. This is, of course, green single dot. And some more instructions, very common. And, of course, a little lens cloth, very common as well. And this one, this particular optic is an RMSC footprint, which should be a direct mount. As you can tell, it does have your rail mount as well, kind of a cool little feature. We'll separate that, of course, and just direct mount it right on top of the FIREARM. And these, of course, are all your different types of screws for the thread patterns. That's very handy, and they're labeled just like they were with Siley and a lot of other manufacturers. And of course, your wrenches. That be it. One of the things I've noticed as optics have become more and more popular is it seems like it's getting better as far as solving the riddle of what works with what. I don't think a lot of manufacturers are producing guns anymore that at some point they don't have a model that is MOS ready. So hopefully as time goes on, that'll get better and better. As you can tell, that I'm going to use the wrench here. You can easily tell that it's a large window compared to the Hollow Sun Micro. I'm a big fan. I'm also a big fan of the fact it's green. They do make this in red. Cool thing with this particular optic is the green is just the same price as the red, no upcharge for green. And if you have astigmatism with your eyes, most people see green sharper or more clear. So that's kind of handy. And this does have shake awake technology as well. They do have, as I said, a wide array of different models, closed emitters, various shapes, sizes, circle dots. Really an accomplished company for no longer they've been out based on the amount of different products that they have. So what I'm going to do is remove the Hollow Sun Micro, slap this guy on there, and see what I think about just out of the holster with a dry fire presentation related to this one. So after a brief intermission, I have, of course, mounted the Gideon. Now, cool thing, the mount was very easy. It fit perfectly into the milled slide from the Canik. No issues there. Direct mount with the screws. For all of you Glock fans out there, their claim to fame, so to speak, at Gideon Optics is they make a model called the Granite that will hook up to your Glock with no plates. It is MOS direct thread, so no muss, no fuss, and that's a cool feature for all of you Glock fanatics out there. I know there's a lot, so keep that in mind. Cost-wise on this optic, this one would sell retail for around $210 or so. So very affordable. One of the things I like about companies like this, despite all of the negativity that's around, let's say, less expensive optics, is this. If you don't know whether red dot is your thing, you can get into this fairly inexpensively, and if you buy the right one with rail mounts or whatever, you could pretty much put it on anything that you would happen to buy in the future. That's important to me. Money matters. And I have personally found that they hold up. My Siley's still running. I have thousands of rounds through it. I have no doubt that this one would be any different. I can tell you right now, just from based on the presentation and finding the dot in the screen, it is way easier and way better and way faster than the Hollow Sun, which doesn't mean Hollow Sun's a bad product. It's obviously not. It's just, to me, I'm a big window guy, and you can get a big window fairly inexpensively. By the way, just from throwing this guy on here, it does have a side mount battery, shake awake technology. The dot is dead on with, of course, the co-witness sights on the prime. So later on, we're going to go out to the range, put it through its paces a little bit, and see how that goes. But so far, very impressed with Gideon Optics, and I am very excited to shoot this afternoon. So you can tell I had just been using this G code that came with the prime, and I like the holster, works pretty well. Convertible to left or right-handed, and this, of course, is set up for appendix. You'll notice the G code did not interfere with the sort of the hookup of the firearm to the holster, even though we have a decidedly larger window. So that's kind of nice. Now, it could be that you have to be careful with that. When you increase the size of your optic in the shroud, oftentimes they might interfere with your holster. So bear that in mind before you potentially make a purchase. I know people take Dremels to them. They get all kinds of creative ways to make it fit. But keep in mind, one of the downsides, if you want to call it that, to an increased sized window is it might interfere with your holster lockup.
So we're back out on the firing line here at Ghost Town. As you saw in the shop, the Gideon was very, very easy to mount. The Judge XL hooked right up perfectly to the milled slide of the prime. And so what I'm going to do is just pull the gun out, of course, and maybe drive it around the range a little bit. And I think based on my dry fire presentations before I film this, I am a huge fan of that size of a window. But let's just give it a try. I have not tuned the optic in any way. I can tell from the co-witness sights that it's on fairly close, so we're going to see how it goes. This is about 7 yards or so. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you just pick that up so easy. and I'm gonna make it a little brighter because we're out here in the bright sunlight. The dot tracks well. I just dinged one of those steel targets at right around 25 yards. Seems to come with the set 25-yard zero, which is what I prefer. That distance is really less than an inch. So we've covered that sort of topic before. Zeroing your dot to 25 yards does make a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do next is sort of predictively shoot the gun and see how it tracks with that big window. Yeah, nice. That little bit of downright was just my trigger. Big fan. So for me, where the rubber hits the road a little bit is speed out of the holster and then presenting the gun onto the target. The big window, in theory, should allow you to go a little faster and a little easier. A lot of people, once again, would argue that your presentation is there. It wouldn't matter how small or whether there was actually a sort of optic on your gun or not. I agree with some of that to a point, but in my dry fire practice so far, I've noticed with this bigger window that I can actually see the dot fairly quickly instead of sort of using the gross sight picture concept. So we're just going to give it a couple of runs here. Yeah, so that's 1.2. Saw the dot. Presentation was there. You're going to go a little faster because I'm operating the gun from the slick condition, not clearing a garment or anything like that. And once again, appendix carry, you do have to be very careful about reholstering the gun for obvious reasons. You want to kind of look it in and sort of lean back. Yeah, that was a good one, 1.17. The big thing where this will go wrong on the reholster is no look or sort of garment in the way. And the other thing you kind of want to do when you lean back is sort of press the gun away from yourself and into the holster for obvious reasons. This is quick. The dot is very quick. Pretty happy with that out of the box, and now I'm going to try to shoot a small target at around maybe 30 yards, sort of diagonally across the range. See how that goes. Ready?
Yep.
So that was 2 for 2, 25 yards at a sort of maybe 4-inch piece of brick. I haven't touched the optic. I haven't tuned it. It comes very well set from the factory. Of course, based on the way you see and operate the gun, you may have to tweak it some. For me, I'm quite happy with where it is now. Out of the box, I can tell you this is a good product. It's an inexpensive product, but not a cheap one. At least that's my interpretation of it so far. I hope to put a few thousand rounds on it in the next week or so and let everybody know what I think of it at that point. I can tell you I have started to carry it around. It's an easy mount. It doesn't change your holster setup, at least for me. You have to be careful that it doesn't, like we talked about back in the shop. But overall, I am a huge fan of Gideon Optics. Thanks for your time, and don't be afraid to like and subscribe.